Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the LFC chat room the chat room on the LFC transfer room with myself, Louis Fell. I hope you are all having a good evening, a pretty quiet weekend. Not much going on in terms of Liverpool sports, at least. Plenty of other fixtures on throughout the weekend. We may cover those if we feel like it, if questions come in, but otherwise we'll stick to Liverpool. And we've still got another 2 weeks at least until our next game because there's an international break now. So literally could not have been timed worse, everything that's happened. I won't go into detail exactly what I'm talking about in case I upset anybody, but welcome to the chat room. Please do get involved in the live chat. This is by the viewers for the viewers. So get your thoughts, questions, comments in, and we will talk about them. Plenty to discuss outside of that as well, just to keep things rolling. But if you've got anything you want to talk about at all, this is the show to do that. Please get involved in the live chat. And whilst you're here, like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Let me know how you're doing on this Monday evening, this bank holiday if you're in the UK. Let's get straight into it. Jen, hope you're doing well. Good evening. Elias, thank you very much. Yes, for anybody who is a regular, you'll know that I have shaved my hair off once again. So the burgundy beanie will be making a comeback. I can promise you that. So exciting times ahead on this channel. Let me know if the audio is all okay as well. It should be just fine. But plenty of transfer rumours, actually, which may not be everyone's favourite topic at the minute because, of course, the summer one's only just ended, not 3 weeks ago. So I appreciate it may sound like a bit of a broken record. Could be a little bit frustrating, but just bear with us. There's rumours coming in about our club, so we have to talk about them, don't we? We can discuss their validity and whether they're complete tosh or we believe them or what. But there's stuff to discuss. It's an international break. Let's let our hair down. Let's get a bit loose. Have a drink. Pour yourself something nice, and let's just have a chat about our club and the stuff that's come up this week in regards to it. It should be purple. May look a bit pinkish, but it should be purple. In line with the chat room. This is not my room, unfortunately. I'm on the road at the moment, not at home. So yeah, there's a bit of a pink/purple theme going on, isn't there? Wadays, hope you're doing well. Juan Gomez, yes, that is on my list to talk about, so we will talk about him. Probably should have put him in the title, really. But the big one that's come out today is that Liverpool will make an attempt to sign Shakhtar Donetsk forward. Now, please excuse the pronunciation on this one. MYKHAYLO Mudrack. I've definitely not said that right, but 21 years of age. We may well attempt to sign him in January and face competition from the likes of Sevilla and Arsenal. Now, this is someone who, as I just said, Arsenal have been hot on the trails of for a little while. But apparently today, I think it's cm.com or whatever their name is, are the source who've come out and said that apparently we're interested in signing them as well. Now, he is a forward player, a winger, probably a right winger. So we're looking at how useful this is. He would be a backup. He would be a backup to Mo Salah. Now, I think to expand on this conversation a bit, because I think a lot of people may just think, well, we're not going to sign a forward and we need a midfielder. I think you can still sign forward players as long as you're thinking about the midfield. And it sounds like we are, and we'll get onto that in a minute. But here's a reason why I think signing a right winger does make sense. And I think a lot of people will agree once I say it and may even be thinking the same thing as well. Salah's not started spectacularly. A lot of people were angry about his contract situation. A lot of people felt that him and particularly his agent mishandled that slightly. He signed it. It was this big, huge thing over the summer. This wow, they got him to do this big announcement whilst he was on holiday, and it looked very cool. And we all thought, right, brilliant. We've got him tied down. Now what are we going to do? And we didn't do too much after that to stem the flow to match people's expectations for that transfer window. And this season, not much by his fault, I don't think. He hasn't had the greatest of starts. Jen says we need competition for Mo. And what about Sadio? Unhappy at Bayern getting back. I don't know. I haven't really heard much about that. I know Bayern have gone through a bit of a rough patch, actually, after winning their first few games. But it's an interesting one. Thank you to everybody who is just getting in and joining. My name is Louis. This is the chat room. This is the LFC transfer room. If you are new, please do please subscribe as well. We're here every single night, 7:30, usually in a nicer looking setup than this one. I appreciate it. It's pretty ugly on the eyes. I'm on the road at the moment, so just bear with us. It normally looks a little bit better than this. So back to the point about Mo Salah. The cat says so many idiots were saying just pay Salah whatever he wants to sign a new contract. Look at him now. So what I was going to get on to, and you've touched upon it quite nicely to refresh my mind, is that it's not all Salah's fault what's been happening. I'm going to stick up for him a little bit here. I think he's kind of, through his agent as well, created some enemies for himself amongst the Liverpool fan base as well. I think, once he starts scoring again, those people will start to be a little bit quieter. But generally, his back end of last season, the contract drama, and this season has led a few people to doubt him slightly, which I think is mental. But I understand why. Just looking at it solely, he's not providing the goods at this moment in time. But the way we've started this season, it's obvious it's not just Salah, is it? Like, if we were flying and doing brilliantly, but Salah was on no goals, no assists, and was the worst player on the pitch every single week, I think you'd have a point. But lots of our players are off the pace. And for me, it's clearly a tactical thing. It's clearly a tactical change, and the players just aren't ready for it yet. I think there's been problems with the pre-season, whether they were brought in too late or whether there was a bit of indecisiveness with how we were going to play this season. And also, the transfers as well. We needed that extra midfielder. We didn't get it, so now we're having to make do with what we've got. We've got some injuries, so players playing slightly out of position more often than we prefer them to be. And I think that's created a lot of knock-on effects. And I think Darwin Núñez as well coming in has changed the dynamic of our front line quite heavily. And again, this is creating a bit of a problem for us. Too much pounds equals reduced appetite in players. I mean, Mo Salah was never poor, was he? He was never on crap wages. He was always well paid. And he's an elite professional. Like, he is someone who's chasing Ballon d'Ors. This isn't a Jesse Lingard. This is someone who wants a legacy, wants to be the best of the best. Not tactical. Salah has never been a deep-lying winger. Well, that is the problem. He's been primarily used as an inside forward from that wing. That's why he's got those goals, as well as his ability. With Darwin Núñez coming in, even though Klopp has said, no, he's not playing wide at all, I don't know why people are saying that, it feels pretty obvious that he is playing a lot wider nowadays because of Darwin Núñez. The problem with that is he's not involved in the box as we maybe would like him to, and he is coming a little bit deeper as well. Because when we're kind of playing as a 4-2-3-1 a lot more regularly, the two wide players are a lot wider and a little bit further back as well. So he's not playing the exact same role that he was playing when he got 30 to 40 goals every single season. That's not his role anymore. Let me just go through the comments as well. I don't want to miss anything. Mo Salah's been playing too far out on the wing. However, we need competition for him to drive himself, and the players have to take the blame for the lackluster way they've been playing so far. I think, yeah, there's a balance between that. I think it's not all the players' fault, and that's not to pin the blame on Jurgen Klopp. I think this is a case of transfers not being made that needed to be made, and also tactical tweaks coming that don't suit all of our players, and as a result of the lack of transfers has left us a bit short-staffed in the way that we want to go about playing. So with Darwin Núñez coming in, we needed to revamp the way that our wide players operate, the way that our midfield operates, because Darwin Núñez shouldn't be operating as a false nine. He shouldn't be dropping deep like Firmino would, like Jota would at times, and giving us that overload in the midfield. The midfield three need to be able to cover that space on their own. They need to be able to cover for Trent. They need to, hold the back line. They need to be the gel of the team. And they've got one less kind of person to do that. And the team needs to find ways of feeding Darwin Núñez, our main goal-scoring threat at this point, as a main focal point, sort of almost the target man, but I hate to use that word because we are not Newcastle 2012, where we don't have target men necessarily. So it's an interesting dilemma that we find ourselves in. The team need totally overhauling from goalkeeping to attacking department. I think that's a bit harsh, isn't it? We don't need to get a complete overhaul. But we were talking, I've gone off on a massive tangent here. We were talking about Mudryk from Shakhtar Donetsk, Ukrainian winger, and Liverpool are interested in him. And I think, even though we desperately need a midfielder, and that has to be the priority if we are to sign anybody in January, I don't think it's a bad idea. As long as we get a midfielder in, I don't think it's a bad idea to go after this Mudryk guy, bring in somebody who can actually provide some competition for Salah. But that's interesting in and of itself. Is he capable of doing that? Would he not just be a bench warmer and someone who comes in when Salah's tired? Could he genuinely push Salah to be better? Like Tsimikas matches up well with Robertson, and they have a good back and forth competition-wise. Matip and Kanate have a good back and forth. They offer different things and are both very, very good at what they do. So that provides an interesting dynamic and an interesting choice to the attack. Firmino, Nunes, and Jota all kind of offer different things, although I guess Jota is more of a hybrid between the other two. And they're all of a good ability. Arguable with some, I understand. Some may not like Firmino, but he's had a good start this year. They offer different things. There's that competition. But then you've got, last year you had Nico Williams up against Trent. Was Nico Williams ever in the sphere of being able to displace Trent? No. So was Trent really ever getting a kick up the backside when he was dropped? Not really, because he knew he'd be back in the team again afterwards. So that's kind of the dynamic with who, and it's always been the question, who do you sign to improve the side? It's not about providing competition. It's about who do you sign to improve the side. Who can improve on the right wing position more than what Mo Salah has been doing? Maybe not this season, but for the last 4 or 5 years, who can improve upon that? Is Mudryk the answer? I heavily doubt it. I'm happy to be proved wrong, but I really, really do doubt it. And so what are we bringing him in for? He would just be a bench warmer. He would be that squad option. Maybe a good replacement for Minamino. I don't know, that person who can come in cup competitions in the early stages of the Carabao, the FA Cup, some group stage games in the Champions League, or some lower ranked Premier League games. I don't know. But is he the guy to push Salah to another level, which is what some people believe we need? I don't think he's that guy. I don't think there are any of those guys out there, really, that are obtainable, that would be happy to fight for their position. You know, wingers, not generalising, tend to be a bit more me than other players. I mean, all professional football players have that element to them, but attacking players prefer not to be up against it within their own team. I feel like they prefer to be able to go out and express themselves a bit more freely than that. So who would we be able to buy to come in and back up and then try and displace Salah and always be looking over their shoulder? I don't know, but that's an interesting question in and of itself. Would like you guys to watch and discuss Amadou Hadara from RB Leipzig? To me, the guy's far, far better than Jude. Interesting. I'll make sure to try and take a look at him. Actually, we'll start doing some more player analysis, I think. So I think you guys liked the Caicedo video, the Kone video, which I really enjoyed doing as well. I'm firmly in the Manu Kone train at the minute, I must say. I hope we find a way to get him, but there's just not been any rumours surrounding him, even in the summer. Nothing concrete at all. So I don't know. Do you think jealousy over the Salah contract and some big egos have had an effect on the others? I don't know who those egos would be, to be honest. The reports that came out, and there's no reason to believe these are any more true than any others, to be fair. This is just purely backing up my point, was that everyone kind of understood and were understanding. And I just like to think that that's true, because I feel like we've got a good group of blokes, a good group of players who understand the privileged position. Like, that's the culture that we built up, is not modesty, but understanding where we are, the privileges that we have, how much money we're being paid, etc. But you may well be right. Maybe there were some jealousy. I wouldn't like to point fingers at anybody without any sort of news on that. We need to strengthen. That's been obvious from the start. However, we can afford to strengthen elsewhere as well. We need players to push each other for players, and this makes healthy competition. We cannot afford to drop Salah or other players when needed and bring back Lord Origi, says Jen. Gary, good to see you, says Nunes must start all games now. One I love Bobby, but he must not start for Liverpool. Liverpool will have players returning. Nunes can score goals when he starts in the 9. And Christian King, I hope you're doing well, says Jen and Gary have no idea. Oh, well, come on. Argue the point, not the people. Why? Why do they not know what they're talking about? Or what is your opinion? That gives us nothing, Christian. I've got nothing to work with on that one. And it's a little bit mean to 2 people who are very dedicated to this channel and watching our content. So do better, Christian. You're welcome to try again on that one, and I will read it out. Zacharias says he's a top quality player and soon will be shining for other Champions League teams. And Oluwu, hope you're doing well. To everybody who is watching, thank you very much. Please do like this video. Please feel free to get involved in the live chat as well. This is the chat room. This is by you guys, for you guys. So all of your comments and thoughts, I'll read out and we'll discuss whatever questions you have, etc. And please do subscribe as well. Peter Bunn says, what about Naby Keita, in all caps locks? Well, what about him, Peter? What is it? What do you want me to talk about? His quality, his injuries. I think we've, unless you've got a question, I think we've said on this channel most of what there is to be said about Naby Keita. A very frustrating player who, when he's fit and available, is a massive asset. When he's fit and available is the big problem. It's not very often, is it? Find someone to replace Keita and get him gone. Well, speaking of midfielders, João Gomez of Flamenco, a midfielder, on Liverpool's interest in him, said, Liverpool are a team I'd play for. I have the greatest desire to play. Playing in the Champions League is my biggest dream in football. Isn't that nice? And isn't that such a unique thing for a player to say when told about interest from a Champions League club? Of course it's his... Well, you can kind of believe it. It's only when it's like, Man City or Crystal Palace and the players are like, it's been a lifelong journey, a lifelong dream to play for this wonderful club that I only learnt about 5 minutes ago. But no, that's another potential option that we could be looking at. Let me know what your thoughts are on João Gomez. I'll be honest with you. I'll draw level with you. Please don't hate me. Haven't seen much of him. Can't judge too much, but I will take a look into him and we'll get some player reviews out, as I said, for you. So the likes of Mudryk and Gomez will have player analysis videos out for you in the coming weeks. So stick around for that as well. Press that subscribe button. We'll be linked to everybody, but we'll renew Milner and Henderson contracts. So this is kind of what's come out the week just gone, is that it feels like there's going to be movements made in January. And whilst I would love to believe that, and I think maybe FSG have realised they've missed a trick, maybe Klopp has thrown his weight around and said, look, you guys have left me a bit short. And I think a lot of this would have come from that Napoli game. I think that was a culmination of everything that had gone wrong in the first few games. Crystal Palace, Fulham, United. It all came to, even the Everton game, and it all came to a head at Napoli in that 4-1 defeat. Maybe Klopp threw his weight around a bit and started making noises and said to higher-ups, look, the whole time I've been here, I've been very quiet. I've been very okay to go along with your plans because I believe in the project. I believe in stability. I believe in us making our own fortune in a way without too much backing. But we are in a precarious position. I love James Milner. He is one of my favourite players ever. But even I must admit, we've used him a little bit too much recently. This is not in his contract. He was expected to be a bit part player every now and then, and he's starting week in, week out for us at the minute. We need to do something in January, otherwise this season's going to be a write-off, and we could struggle for Champions League. And when FSG heard that, struggle for top 4, struggle for the revenue from Champions League football, that's when they probably sat up and took notice. So I have a feeling that's somewhere along the lines of how that rumour's come about, that we're now going to spend in January. But to anybody who knew, and I think that's pretty much everybody who knew that we did need a midfielder in the summer, it's definitely going to come as too little too late, isn't it? Like, what is the point of going for Jude Bellingham or Zakaria or Kone even in a January window? Prices will be almost double what you could have got them for in the summer. I half the season's already gone. They're going to need time to readjust to our system, time to get fit. There's a World Cup going on, so any of them could get injured. And it's a bit of a mess of a season, isn't it? And we could already be out of most competitions. Just, worst case scenario, we could cock up against Derby somehow, go out on penalties. FA Cup, I don't know. Is the FA Cup going to start after the World Cup? It must do. So maybe we'll still be in the FA Cup, but Champions League could go horribly wrong. Who knows? We've done better against Ajax. But, Rangers are going to be a tough game. Ajax at home will look to get some payback, and Napoli will very much fancy their chances, even coming to Anfield to cause an upset. So if it's true and they want to spend in January, brilliant. But it doesn't make up for it, does it? If they almost should just stick to their guns, shouldn't they? In a sick way, they went through all of summer. They had 3 months and the first few games of the season to decide, actually, we're a bit short in midfield in terms of quality for now, and we've got some older people. We've got some older folks, old folks who need to go to the old folks' home in the team, such as Milner and Henderson, and we've got 2 young starlets, such as Elliott and Carvalho, and even Jones, who just are brilliant, but are not quite ready to be the front runners for Liverpool. They shouldn't have to be, at this point in their careers, thinking about starting week in, week out for Liverpool, because we've got nobody else who can do it. Keita's injured, Oxlade-Chamberlain's injured, Thiago's injury prone, Fabinho's not been at his best and can also pick up a knock here and there. We are down to the bare bones. Arthur's come in, and we'll talk about him in a minute as well, because obviously there's been a lot of chatter about him and not all positive. So maybe they should just stick to their guns if they decided after all of that we don't need one, to then have to wait until a 4-1 loss to Napoli and then decide, oh, okay, fair enough. In 3 months' time, we'll go and sign a midfielder for you. Too little, too late, almost to the point of don't bother. That's almost where it is now, isn't it? Zakaria says, did FSG really do anything? They got a loan again. Their lack of ambition has left us in this position, as it did when we had the defensive crisis. Always next summer owners. Yep. Fair enough on all that. I don't think... Maybe I'm just being blind or naive, but back in that summer, the summer before the defensive crisis, I don't think I remember anyone talking about defenders. I don't remember us being particularly bothered about signing a new defender. Maybe there was like the odd person saying it, or like, oh, it'd be nice if we got one. But I don't think it was as bad as this summer, where we're literally on our hands and knees begging, and the proof is in the pudding that we needed one. But maybe I'm wrong on that one. But no, I agree with you. Oliver says, we get 2 midfielders, and I doubt we'll keep Arthur permanently, even though I really like the guy. Well, let's talk about Arthur, because as I'm sure many of you have seen, and I'm sure it's been discussed on previous streams on this channel, please do like and subscribe, by the way, in case you've forgotten, and get involved in the live chat as well. On previous streams, I'm sure we've spoken about those rumours that Arthur has failed to impress, and Liverpool are actually looking to cancel his loan in January. Now, as soon as this story came out, I was just convinced. I had this gut feeling that it was rubbish, a load of absolute tosh. No, I know Lovren wasn't replaced, but I don't think anybody particularly minded. They were just more happy that he was out of the club. What I'm trying to say is, I don't think there was as much uproar before the injuries that we hadn't signed a defender than there is now that we haven't signed a midfielder, if that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't. I haven't explained it very well. But these rumours around Arthur, Klopp completely unimpressed, Klopp fuming, wants to get rid of him in January. He's never been like that. He's the most patient guy when it comes to a new signing, in terms of Robertson didn't start for weeks, months. Fabinho wasn't a regular for months. Others, of course, were an instant success, but as if, like, you would have to do some serious shit to warrant some kind of to warrant being kicked out after only weeks of joining. It's the 19th of September, guys. The window's shut. 18 days ago. Arthur Melo has had 18 days with that team, with the coaching staff. And you think, or not you, but people who've let that out, have actually think that Klopp's given up on him already. I think that's ludicrous. The thing with Arthur is he's always been a decent player who had a lot of potential, and because of injuries was never allowed to meet it. And you saw his interview, like it was actually like you actually believed what he was saying. It wasn't just this media training stuff coming out of his mouth. This was a player who I felt thought he'd been saved by this transfer before he'd even played a game or played a training session. He seemed so happy to be here, and he seemed so willing to put in the work and do what needed to be done to prove himself, not just to the management, the coaching staff, the players, the fans, but to himself as well. Because I imagine that must have been a tough journey for him. Obviously, football is well looked after, but emotionally, mentally. Sorry, I just went there. Let me know if you can hear me or see me. That's annoying. Let me know if you can, if I'm coming through clearly. I was on a good point there as well. Please do like and subscribe if you haven't done so. But I'm just waiting to see confirmation that people can see me and stuff and hear me all right. I just cut out. Wede says he's refused to take a holiday and is playing with the referees to get match fit. Well, that was exactly my point. I'm going to assume people can see me and hear me. If not, I'll assess what needs to be done. Yep, I'm back. Thank you. Yep, sorry about that. That's the problem with using hotspot, because the Wi-Fi here as well sucks. I just can't catch a break. Arthur has not played since last May and was injured. He needs time to familiarise to our football and gain fitness again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I know I'm back. Leave a like if you can hear me. That's the way to prove it. Yeah, what was the previous comment? Because I was going to... Yeah. So Fabrizio Romano has actually come out and defended his boy and said, it's rubbish. He's really keen to impress. He's trying to get back to full fitness. He's voluntarily not taken leave. So for the internationals or, after games to get a day off, he has said no, because I haven't bloody played yet. And I really, really, really want to make this work. He has refused to take that leave to do extra training. And I believe he volunteered to play for the under-21s. I don't know if he was sent to play with them. I think he volunteered. That may or may not be wrong, but either way, it was about obviously getting match fitness, etc., etc. We need to give this boy a chance, and we need to just chill out. I know emotions are running high because we didn't get an actual midfield signing. We didn't get any of our first choices. Arthur was literally never mentioned until the day before transfer deadline day. We need to give him a chance, and we need to separate him from the FSG not signing midfielder issues, because that is how this rumour, which came from nowhere, got blown up into this big thing, and everyone lost their minds because you had people who were angry, rightfully so. Don't get me wrong, rightfully so, angry about not signing a midfielder, a proper one, like a full-time signing, a first choice signing, somebody that we knew we were interested in, or that some of us were interested. Like, nobody was suggesting Arthur Melo in September or whatever. So we didn't get our man. We didn't get any person that we'd initially wanted or been linked with, or that fans wanted. And we've got Arthur Melo, who hasn't played much, injury problems, and failed to impress at several clubs now. Put them together, and a little whispering comes out from somewhere that doesn't know a lot about anything, saying, "Oh, Klopp doesn't like him." And then suddenly, a few people who are really angry at FSG and Klopp and the club see that, and before even questioning who this source is, where it's come from, why they've said it, how they know this, the fact it's when this rumor came out, it'd only been like bloody 2 weeks. We're now only at 3, without questioning any of that, because it fit what they were thinking in the back of their head. It gets blown up into this massive thing, and suddenly, oh my God, we are in a massive state. Klopp wants to get rid of Arthur. He's fuming at FSG. This club is a shambles, etc., etc. The kid has been here not even 3 weeks yet. He is familiarising. He's readjusting. This is nothing new. Klopp is very, very patient with new signings, even loan ones, I imagine. And he's been on almost every single bench since he's come in. So there's not too much more to say on that one. But for me, it's just an example of you need to calm down when rumours come out, and you need to question them a little bit more and just think about why they're coming out, who they're coming from, what that person believes, where they've gotten this information from. Like, when have we ever heard anything like that from the coaching team or from Jurgen Klopp? When have we ever heard that there's that he's giving up on a player? I mean, Sacco was a different case. He was already an established member of the team and a bit of an attitude problem by all accounts, and there was a bit of a breakdown, and he was quickly ushered out. I think was the case with. But to hear this rumor come out that he's fuming, doesn't like him, you got to take a step back and just reassess. You could still be mad about not signing midfielders. It's got nothing to do with your opinion on that. But not everything that comes your way that seems to support your viewpoint is necessarily true. That doesn't make your viewpoint any less valid. That was my point. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't know much about him when I heard we were getting Arthur. I thought, oh God, Philippe Melo when it was Arthur Melo. Is the anger warranted? As it seems we still want Matthias Nunes. Had a chance to buy him, and now we may have to pay double. That's another strange rumor, isn't it? And that one may very well be true. As I say, you can believe what you want at the end of the day. I've got no facts to back up any of this. I'm just going off of what's been said and my particular take on it. So please, when I express an opinion, don't think I'm trying to say it as fact. I just quite like the idea of taking a step back out of a situation when a new piece of information comes in, and just really thinking about what it could mean, what it could not mean, etc., etc. But yeah, Matthias Nunes, a weird one. Apparently, we now want to bid for him next summer. What's changed? Again, this may come from my theory that Klopp has, after the window's ended, decided to ruffle some feathers and told FSG what for, and the idea of missing out on Champions League revenue has maybe scared them a little bit. That's the only way I could think that this Matthias Nunes stuff is true, because why would we wait for him to go to a Premier League team and then sign him and decide that 2 weeks after the window's ended? What could have possibly changed between September 1st or was it like August, like the middle of August when Wolves signed him, and the middle of September? What did we learn about him that our world-class scouting setup wouldn't have already known? I really don't get it. I don't understand. So it could very well be true. I wouldn't be surprised, because it just feels like we're a bit messed up in our decision making at the minute. Everyone's a bit stressed out. I don't know, but I'd like to think that it's not true. I'd like to think that we're not that stupid and we weren't that blindsided. It wasn't breaking news when it got announced that Wolves were signing him. It was known for a very long time that they were going after him, and we could have jumped in. We could have done what we did with Luis Diaz and jumped in and taken him by surprise and stole in and got that transfer done and over the line. There was time to do that, and we didn't do it. I would have liked to have thought there was a reason we didn't do it. We had some logic and thinking behind it. He doesn't fit our system, which seems hard to believe. He's got an attitude that doesn't fit with our culture. don't know on that one. Don't know the guy enough. His ceiling's not as high as everyone thinks it is. He's got injury issues, which I don't know about. I don't know. Or I honestly, I can't think of what it would be. But I would have wanted to give our staff and our coaching team and our analytical team and our recruitment team that benefit of the doubt because of the rewards that we've reaped so far through their methods of doing that. But with everything that's gone on, and if this rumor is true that we now want to sign him next summer, that throws all that out of the window, along with the whole midfielder thing and bringing in Arthur out of nowhere. You would then start to question our behind-the-scenes setup and exactly what's gone on. Maybe it's starting to fall off. I don't know. The scouting team did present Matthias Nunes to Klopp, but he said no. But that's another interesting question, though. If that's true, why? Because if we hadn't signed anyone, then I could believe that he wanted to wait for Bellingham the way we did with Konate. But we've then gone and got Arthur. Yes, it's on loan, so I guess you could compare it to Kabak and us waiting for Konate. So maybe that's what it is. But it became very apparent after the Napoli game. Was the Napoli one the game before? No, that's not right. What was the game the day before the transfer deadline day closed? Was it Everton? I can't remember. No, it was Newcastle. It was the Newcastle 2-1 win. I can't remember. And I forgot where I was going with it as well, so I do apologise. We have too many first-team midfielders. We have 7 or 8, same as City. We need people to leave to have more space in the squad. You can't have 9 or 10 midfielders on 70,000 plus a week each. I mean, that's the sad thing, and that's what I hate having to say, because I sound like such a clickbaity website, and I'm not trying to be. But next summer is going to be interesting, and we're going to talk about it all of September, all of October, and all the way through until next bloody summer as well. Next summer could be very interesting because there's going to be some actual decisions having to be made. Cater's contract running out. Oxlade-Chamberlain's contract running out. Thiago getting a year older. Henderson and Milner getting a year older. Milner should be gone by then. Absolutely. Although Oluwu makes the point, he said no to Nunes to give young prospect Milner and passionate Henderson game time. So we've got to consider that as well. I actually think Klopp had a max budget all to be used for Bellingham. And if he tapped into that budget, then he would not get Bellingham next year. Interesting and believable. And if we include Pacetic and Morton, we need 2 midfielders. Look, I guess it's just because of this international break and obviously there not being any football on. I don't want us to be fixated on next summer or even the January transfer window as the days go by. But we've got 2 weeks until our next game. So if you are new here or if you've been around but you're kind of thinking, like, for God's sake, boys, why are you still talking about transfers? It ended a few weeks ago. Firstly, I apologise. Secondly, there's not actually much else in an international break to talk about unless there's some breaking news about the current squad. You know, any and all rumours that come up, we are a news site. So we're going to talk about it. If they're rubbish, we'll tell you. That's one thing that we will do. If a source comes up, and I'm not the sources expert here, that's more like Charlie and Matty and some others on the channel as well. But if a source comes up linking us to a player and they are a rubbish source, totally unreliable, we'll tell you. But we have to report on it as well. So just want to give you guys who are watching that warning. Please do like and subscribe. But be warned, news comes up, we will talk about it. Don't get mad at us for the news being there. We are a news site. We do not claim to have exclusive sources. We do not claim to be the people with the news. We report on what is being said elsewhere. And then through this channel, we talk about it. Okay? So bear with us. And hopefully just together we can get through this really horrible, boring, badly timed international break and get through to the next round of fixtures before the bloody World Cup starts up. So that should all be good fun, shouldn't it? Again, thank you very much for watching the chat room. Please do like the video. Please do subscribe. And we're going to leave it there for tonight. I think that's been a good show. It's been good to be back, actually. I haven't done the chat room for a while. Once I'm a bit more settled with where I am and back at home and what have you, and back in my lovely, crisp, beautiful studio, I'll be on a bit more regularly, especially with watch-alongs, pre-match stuff, post-match, and of course the chat room, which I'm really keen to make into this big thing. And I think we've done a good job so far. We've got a lot of people always tuning into chat rooms, and I'd like to think that's because of the community that we've got and the fact that it is all about that interaction with you guys. I mean, this time last year I wasn't even on the channel, but this time in January, we'd be lucky to have 5, 6, 7, 10 people watching a stream. And now, as I'm looking, we've got 45. And that may not sound like a lot, but it is. It's for a channel that's come from zero. This is a lot of people to be talking to. Imagine being in a room full of 46 people and standing up and talking in front of all of them. That's how I feel. And it is a little bit scary at times. But it's what I was going to say was when we're on our regular streams with 3 or 4 of us, it's hard to keep that conversation going and look at everybody getting involved in the live chat. So that's what the chat room's here for, to interact with you guys and for it to be a much more personal experience. So I want to make sure we keep that more regular, Mondays or Tuesdays every single week. Maybe one day we'll grow into a multi-show-a-week show or something, however you phrase that. Gargoyle Blaster says, for me, it seems like Arthur Melo is not going to play much, and most of the time he's going to spend time on the bench. It looks like Klopp just brought him in to the team because the fans demand to bring players into the team. Rahman says, no Premier League game, been a bad weekend, especially watching nothing. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. We are here every night. Well, we weren't here last night, apologies, but we're here most nights at 7:30. So if you've got nothing to watch, we'll be here to talk about your favourite Premier League football club, your favourite team in the whole world. That's the beauty of fan channels. Fan channels get a lot of hate in the general media, kind of looked down upon by the likes of TalkSport, which is ironic coming from TalkSport, the son of radio. But I think the community that we build and the friends we make along the way is what makes it special. So, yeah, every night, 7:30, and for watch-alongs and whatever, please do get involved. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. This has been another episode of the Chat Room with myself. Back again tomorrow for another different live stream, different people, etc. Please like, please subscribe, and please have a lovely, as best as you can, rest of your Monday evening. Take care.